Arkansas. Yay. I love you too. We all have a favorite teacher. All of our favorite teachers very likely share some similar qualities. A good teacher is kind and supportive, but a good teacher challenges us when that's what's called for too, because over everything else, a good teacher has high expectations for her students. And when her students start to struggle, a good teacher doesn't give up and walk away. A good teacher encourages them not to give up on themselves and reminds them to dream big and fight hard. Because a good teacher knows that she doesn't succeed unless the whole class is succeeding. I am proud to support Senator Elizabeth Warren for president because Arkansas, America really needs a good teacher right now. A leader who is strong and smart and supportive and challenging. A leader who expects more of us and who can guide us to the best version of ourselves. America needs Elizabeth Warren. Senator Warren, we want to all welcome you to Arkansas, and I think you're going to fit right in. Because in Arkansas, we like to think for ourselves. And in Arkansas, we love a woman who is not afraid to give anybody her 2 cents. The 2 cents I'm specifically talking about, of course, are her wealth tax, right? A 2-cent tax on the super rich, which will be used to fund educational initiatives from universal child care to increase funding for IDEA. Yes. Funding for HBCUs and student debt relief. I support Elizabeth Warren because our children will be better. It's just that simple. All of our children will do better when Elizabeth Warren's plans become reality. And I also support Elizabeth Warren because of my own children, because my 2 girls now have a different conception of what girls do because of what Senator Warren has done. As we just heard, Arkansas was the first state to elect a woman to the United States Senate. Let's do our part in getting the first woman to the White House. Arkansas, here is Elizabeth Warren.
Stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the streets, the traffic starts jumping with folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living. Getting by, it's all taking and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5.
Hello, Arkansas! Wow! Sounds like Arkansas is ready for some big structural change. And let's thank Nicole, one of the best people in your state legislature. Oh, it is good to be here with you all. You know, I come from nearby. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. We got some Okies in the crowd here. I also brought my husband with me. Bruce, where are you, sweetie? There he is. I know, I couldn't bring Bailey. He He doesn't fly. That's the problem. So I thought what we'd do today on this gorgeous day, gosh, is this a day for democracy? I'd start out by introducing myself. I'm Elizabeth Warren, and I'm the woman who's going to beat Donald Trump. I'm going to help us down ticket. We're going to take back the Senate and put Mitch McConnell out of a job. It's time. So I thought what we'd do today, since I tell you a little bit about myself, I tell you a little bit about why I'm in this race. We'll take some questions and just have a chance to say hello to each other. You know, I want to start by saying, I said I'm from Oklahoma. I am the baby in the family. I have 3 much older brothers. All 3 of my brothers went off and joined the military. My oldest brother, Don Reed, career Air Force. My second brother, John, was stationed overseas for about a year. My third brother, David, trained as a combat medic. And it's David who gave rise to the rule, though, never choke in front of David. He is convinced that even to this day, he could perform an emergency tracheotomy. It makes for some nervous times at Thanksgiving. So I love my brothers, though. They're all retired now. They're all back in Oklahoma. And they all remind me every single day that we need to honor our promises to our veterans. Are you in on that? Now, when we were growing up, our family didn't have a lot. Our daddy had a lot of different jobs. He sold paint, he sold carpet, he sold fencing, he sold housewares. About the time I was in middle school, all 3 of the boys were gone, and it was just down to my mama and my daddy and me, and my daddy had a heart attack. He pulled through, but he couldn't work for a long, long time. No money coming in. And I still remember the day we lost our family station wagon. I remember how my mother at night would give me a kiss, tuck me in. She'd leave, close the door, and that's when I'd hear her start to cry. She never wanted to cry in front of me. It's about this time that I learned words like mortgage and foreclosure. And one day I walked into my folks' bedroom in the morning, and laid out on the bed was the dress. Now, some of you in this audience will know the dress. It's the one that only comes out for weddings, funerals, and graduations. And down by the end of the bed is my mother, and she's pacing. She's got on her slip, and she's in her stocking feet, and she's saying, "We will not lose this house. We will not lose this house. We will not lose this house." She was 50 years old. She had never worked outside the home, and she was terrified. And she looked over and saw me standing in the doorway. I'm just a kid. And she looks at that dress, and she looks back at me. And she picks up that dress, she pulls it on, she puts on her high heels, and she walks to the Sears, where she gets a full-time minimum wage job answering phones. That minimum wage job saved our house, and it saved our family. And it was the first lesson my mother taught me. No matter how scared you are, no matter how hard it looks, you dig down deep and you take care of the people you love. That's something people do all across this country every single day. But I got to tell you, that story is also a story about government. Didn't realize that till a lot later, but think of it this way. Back when I was a girl, a full-time minimum wage job in America would support a family of 3. It would pay a mortgage, it would cover the utilities, and it would put groceries on the table. Today, a full-time minimum wage job in America will not keep a mama and a baby out of poverty. That is wrong, and that is why I am in this fight. And understand this difference. It's not just a case of gravity or over time things have to change. It's about who government works for. When I was a girl, the question asked in Washington when they set the minimum wage is, what does it take a family of three to survive in this country? What does it take a family of three to get a toehold in America's middle class? What does it take a family of three to have something solid they can build on? Today, the question asked in Washington when they set the minimum wage is, where do we put it to maximize the profits of giant multinational corporations? Well, I don't want a government that works for giant multinational corporations. I want one that works for our families. So that's a fight I'm in. You know, I have known what I wanted to be since second grade. Yeah, I see some of you back there smiling. You didn't decide to what, like third grade? Fourth grade up against the fence. I can tell. I can always tell. Now, I have known what I wanted to be since second grade. I wanted to be a public school teacher. Can we hear it for America's public school teachers? And I want you to know, I invested early. I used to line up my dollies and teach school. Yeah, I had a bit of a reputation for being tough but fair. It's all I ever talked about growing up, that I was going to be a school teacher. I was going to be a school teacher. By the time I graduated from high school, my family didn't have the money for a college application, much less to send me off to 4 years at a university. So I have a story that frankly is like a lot of American stories. And it's got a lot of bumps and turns and twists and so on. So here's how my story goes. I was a high school debater and I got a scholarship to college. Woohoo! And then at 19, I fell in love, got married, and dropped out. Woohoo! Not to him. Yes, Bruce will be coming up in season 2. But here I am. This is something I chose. Gonna be a good life. Married a guy I dated in high school, and it's all gonna work out just fine, but I thought I'd given up the dream. I thought, that's it. You're never gonna get to teach school because you can't do that if you can't finish college. We're living outside Houston, and that's when I found it. A commuter college, 45 minutes away, that cost $50 a semester. Yeah, U of H, go Cougs. And for a price I could pay for on a part-time waitressing job, I finished my 4-year diploma and I became a special education teacher. I've lived my dream job. So, have we got any public school teachers in here? Whoa, we got a bunch. Oh, we got a bunch. We got a bunch. Okay, I'm gonna need you to back me up on this. Teaching, it is not a job, it is a calling. I loved this work. I loved this work. I love my babies. I had 4 to 6-year-olds in special education. And I probably would still be doing this work today, but like I said, this story has a lot of twists and turns. So here's the next version. By the end of the first year, I was visibly pregnant. And the principal did what principals did. Wished me luck and gave the job to someone else. Okay, so now we're living in New Jersey. I got a baby, can't get a job. I got to do something. I have got to do something because I got to do something. So I will go to law school. Found a state law school, cost $450 a semester, baby on hip, headed off, did 3 years of law school, graduated visibly pregnant. You're going to discover a pattern to these stories. took the bar, passed the bar, and practiced law for 45 minutes. And then went back to my first love, teaching. I traded little ones for tall ones, and I've spent most of my life teaching in law school. Other big changes in my life at this point, husband number one, hint, never good when you have to number your husbands. Husband number one and I parted ways, but I found Bruce and I've held on to him ever since. Go, Bruce. So here I am, I'm teaching in law school, and I don't know, maybe it's because of the way I grew up, family didn't have much, but boy, I taught the money courses. That's where I wanted to be. So contract law, commercial law, secure transactions, payment system, we got, you don't say secure transactions very often and have people say, oh my gosh, Yeah, this is the nerd section, but I love it. I love it. Secure transactions, bankruptcy, law of debtors and creditors, corporate finance, partnership finance, all of it. But there was always one central question that I worked on, and that is, what's happening to working families in America? Why is America's middle class being hollowed out? Why is it that people who work every bit as hard as my folks worked 2 generations ago, today find the path so much rockier and so much steeper? And for people of color, even rockier and even steeper. And the answer is like the answer on minimum wage. It's who government works for. Think of it this way. We have a government that works great, works fabulously for giant drug companies, just not for people trying to get a prescription filled. Yeah. Works great for people who want to make a little money investing in private prisons or private detention centers, just not working for the human beings whose lives are torn apart by those places. Yeah, it's working great for giant oil companies that wanted to drill everywhere, just not for the rest of us who see climate change bearing down upon us. And when you see a government that works great for those with money, works great for those who can hire an army of lobbyists and lawyers, works great for those who can hire their bought and paid for experts, but it's not working so great for much of anyone else, that is corruption, pure and simple, and we need to call it out for what it is. Corruption. It is the influence of money in Washington, and it is everywhere. It's in campaigns, you bet, but it's also in the lobbyists and the lawyers and the PR firms and the tilted think tanks and the bought and paid for experts. Think of it this way. Whatever is the issue that matters most to you, the one that really gets you up, gun safety, criminal justice reform, immigration, health care, student loan debt. Whatever is the issue that gets you up in the morning, I guarantee if there is a decision to be made in Washington, it has been influenced by money. It has been shaped by money. It has had exceptions created by money. Year by year by year, money just keeps influencing the decisions in Washington, and that is how we end up with a government that works great for a thinner and thinner slice at the top and leaves more and more people behind. Well, I say it is time to get off our back foot, to get on our front foot and attack the corruption head on. And I got a plan for that. Okay, so here's how this plan goes. It's a big plan. I hope everybody goes to elizabethwarren.com. It's a big plan, but I'm just going to give a little sample from it. Here's where it starts. End lobbying as we know it. Enough. Block the revolving door between Wall Street and Washington. Here's one you may never have thought about, but it's worth thinking about. Make the United States Supreme Court follow basic rules of ethics. Now, I could do these all day long. But I tell you what, I'm just going to mention just one more. And that is, you really want to hose out some corruption in Washington? Yeah. Make everybody who runs for federal office put their tax returns online. Okay, so that's part one. And that is attack the corruption head on. Disrupt the influence of money, because once we do that, now we got a lot of things we can do. So I want to talk about how we restructure this economy. Okay, how we make it work for everyone. And here's where I start. These giant corporations, man, they're just out of control. They have eaten up little businesses. They have eaten up medium-sized businesses. Shoot, they've eaten up what used to be big businesses. And the problem with that is it gives them power. It's not just economic power, it's political power. Power in Washington. Power. What we need is a president who is willing to enforce our antitrust laws. I am ready. And yes, Mark Zuckerberg, I'm looking at you. All right, that's part of it, but listen, not going to be enough. That's about the government doing its part, but we need more power in the hands of workers. The way we make that happen, make it easier to join a union and give unions more power when they negotiate. Unions built America's middle class. Give them a chance, they'll rebuild America's middle class. All right, that's structural change in our economy. Here's one more. It's time for a wealth tax in America. Now, let me make sure everybody knows what this means. Here's the basic idea. This is on fortunes above $50 million. In other words, your first 50 mil, free and clear. Guy in the back says, phew, this woman is not unreasonable, okay? First 50 million, free and clear, but on your 50 millionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents. And 2 cents on every dollar above that, you hit $1 billion, you got to pitch in a couple of pennies more. That's the basic idea. And just so everybody thinks about how this works, anybody here own a home or grew up in a family that owned a home? Yeah, excuse me, you all been paying a wealth tax. It's just called a property tax. And all I'm saying that's different for the billionaires is their property tax includes not just the real estate, but also the stock portfolio, the diamonds, the Rembrandt, and the yacht. That's the deal. Now, some billionaires don't like this plan. You may have noticed, some have gone on TV and cried. It was so sad. Reality TV on a business show, right? It's just, others have run for president. Figured it was cheaper than paying a 2-cent wealth tax. But here's their basic argument. They say, now wait a minute. I worked hard, I built this fortune, I was up late, I had a great idea. And I say, great. Good for you. You worked hard, you built it, good for you. But here's the deal. I guarantee if you built a great fortune here in America, you built it at least in part using workers all of us help pay to educate. You built it at least in part getting your goods to market on roads and bridges all of us help pay to build. You built it at least in part protected by police and firefighters all of us help pay the salaries for. And we're Americans. We're glad to do it. We want to make those investments in opportunity for everyone. All we're saying is when you make it big, I mean really big, I mean top 1/10 of 1% big, Pitch in 2 cents so everybody else gets a chance to make it. Because now we get to the fun part. What can you do with 2 cents? 2 cents from just the top 0.1% in this country. Think about this. 2 cents. We can do universal child care and early education for every baby in this country age 0 to 5. Universal pre-K for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old in America. And we can stop exploiting the people, largely women, largely African American women and Latinas who do this work. We can raise the wages of every child care worker and preschool teacher in America. Think about that. Life transformative for our babies, for the mamas who can finish their education, who can take a job, for the daddies who can take a job and know their babies are in a good place. We can do all of that for our babies plus. We can put $800 billion into our public schools, K through 12. We can quadruple funding for Title I schools. Let's really level the playing field. And you'll hear this one straight from the heart of a special ed teacher. We can, for the first time in history, fully fund IDEA. Every child with a disability will get the education they deserve. Think of the opportunities we can open up, K-12, that we can have public schools all across America that don't just have an armed guard, but that actually have nurses and counselors and librarians and music programs and art programs and math programs and computers. This is how we build a future. That same 2 cents covers all our babies, covers all of our K-12, and I'm not through yet. It also recognizes in the 21st century, most folks are going to need some more education after high school. So it makes technical school, 2-year college, 4-year college tuition free for anybody who wants to get an education. And it gets serious, this plan does, about leveling the playing field of opportunity. Put $50 billion directly into our historically black colleges and universities. Yep. It's where a lot of our teachers come from. Yep. We can do all of that for our babies, for our kids K-12, for people trying to get an education after high school. And just one more thing with that 2 cents. We can cancel student loan debt for 43 million Americans. You want to do that? 2 cents. So, there it is. That's part 1, is attack the corruption. Part 2, it starts opening doors, and I've shown you what we could do on the economy. Part 3, we got to protect our democracy. I want to start this fight with a constitutional amendment to protect the right of every American citizen to vote and to get that vote counted. Keep that vote safe. A federal law to end all political gerrymandering. Another federal law to roll back every racist voter suppression law in America. And just one more that I want to mention, and that is overturn Citizens United. Democracy is not for sale. So there it is. I just want 3 things. Attack the corruption head on. Open up the possibilities, including restructuring our economy, and protect our democracy. Now, a lot of people might think those are just 3 kind of random things. Not to me. Those 3 are related to each other because they're about who has opportunity in America. I want us to be an America of opportunity, not just for people born into privilege, not just for people who are born in one part of the country but not the other, not just for people who are born into cities and not into rural areas. I want an America that believes in and invests in opportunity for every one of us. That's the America I'm fighting for. So let's do some questions. Where are our questions? Where are our questioners? Behind me. You don't let them sneak up on you. That's really dangerous. Okay. Hi. Okay, we're going to stay there so they can see you. Hi, what's on your tie?
Oh, the Arkansas state flag.
Woohoo! All right, good for you.
Thank you. Sorry. My name is Andrew Waldron, and my question relates to Persist PAC. This morning on my way to the rally, I've been catching flack because reports have started coming out for that. My question goes to, would you basically assuage the doubts that I've been receiving?
Sure.
And, the flack.
Yeah,
Because
so let's talk about this. Great
Yes.
question, Andrew. I'm glad you asked about it. So when I first got in this campaign, I want to tell all of you, I knew exactly why I'd be running. I knew who I'd be fighting for in this campaign. This is a lifetime of work, fighting for working families. But it was also important to me how to do it. So I made the decision on the very first day that I was not going to spend 70% of my time with millionaires, billionaires, corporate lobbyists. I just wasn't going to do it. I was going to fund this thing grassroots. People told me you can't make that work, especially from a standing stop. I said, I'm going to do it. But the second part of this was to say to everybody who was in the race, could we please get unlimited outside spending under control? So all we have to do is all of the candidates agree. We're not going to have unlimited outside spending. That's what super PACs are all about. Oh, excuse me. It's also what being a billionaire is all about. You know, a billionaire's sock drawer is like a super PAC. They just root around for a little extra change in the back, and all of a sudden you got $400 million to spend on a presidential race. So my view on this from the very beginning was, please, all of us who get in this, every time somebody new would get in, I said, let's agree not to let super PACs in. And by the way, if anyone wants to know about this, actually you can make this work. When I first ran, the very first race I ever got in, Senate race in Massachusetts, big, hard-fought race, plenty of money that came into that race, but I made a deal with my opponent, a Republican, that we would keep super PACs out of the race, and by golly, that's what we did. We ran a race that was entirely about the money we raised. So I asked everybody to join me in this, and the answer from literally everybody was zero, crickets. No answer. No one would join. And piece at a time, everybody ended up with super PACs, because that's where, or ended up as billionaires. Although I don't think you get to choose at the beginning which you want to be. But unlimited spending. So look, my view on this is we could shut this down right now. There's now a super PAC that's come in called Persist PAC. I think She Persists PAC. I think that's right. There's a super PAC now that's come in for me, and I get it. There are people who want to try to get women elected. They feel really frustrated that they haven't had an opportunity to do that. But my view on this is we could keep super PACs out of this, but it takes everybody following the same set of rules. So as soon as everybody's ready, I'll lead the charge, and we'll keep the super PACs out, because I think that's the right way to do it. If you think the right way to fund a campaign is through campaigns, go to ElizabethWarren.com, pitch in $5. That's the thing. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Hi.
Hi, my name is Sierra Fisher.
Hi, Sierra.
I'm both a returned Peace Corps volunteer and a current AmeriCorps Vista member at a nonprofit here in Little Rock. So my question is both, what value do you think service programs, whether they're international or domestic, have in American culture, and would you do anything to expand or strengthen?
So yes, let me just say, thank you for your work. Go check on the website. I want to see us expand in both directions, both our domestic service and our international service. You know, I mentioned earlier, all three of my brothers served in the military. It was their way to serve. And it was also a way to become part of America's middle class. We ought to have opportunities for people to serve that aren't just military opportunities. people who want to serve by teaching, people who want to serve by going overseas to help build foreign countries, to help on public health issues. We need people. It strengthens us here at home. So I strongly support these programs, and I thank you very much for being part of them, and I want to see them expanded when I'm President of the United States. Thank you. That was a great question, Sierra. Hi.
Hi, my name is Holly Scott, and
Hi, Holly.
I'm so excited that you're here. I love your enthusiasm and your authenticity.
Oh,
and,
what a nice thing to say, Holly.
Just your determination, too, and that's fantastic.
Thank
so,
you.
I actually have my question typed out so I wouldn't forget it.
Okay.
You have to know your limits.
Yeah.
So
It's okay. You're doing great here, Holly.
In Arkansas, we recently moved to a managed care system that's resulted in several community mental health organizations closing, which has impacted, obviously, a lot of our Kansans being able to get accurate, good health care. It's also resulted in therapists and other providers being overworked and underpaid or laid off and having to find work in other areas. So I'm curious how your plan for Medicare for All can help prevent this from occurring in other places, how we can fix it here, and how do you see it affecting mental health as far as providers are concerned? Because we want to be able to provide services, not have to jump through hoops begging for reimbursement for our clients who need our services.
Super. So, and thank you for your work. Thank you. So I always think it's good to start these with a statement of our values. And that is, healthcare is a basic human right, and healthcare includes physical health and mental health. Period. Absolutely crucial. You know, if I can, I want to expand your question out just a little bit so people get a little more about the full range of what's going on here. Last year in America, 36 million Americans, including people with health insurance, couldn't afford to have a prescription filled. I want you to think about what that means. They were sick enough or worried enough to make an appointment, spend the time, go to the doctor. The doctor was concerned enough to write a prescription. They walked out with that prescription and then looked at it and said, it's that or pay the rent on time, and ended up not filling the prescription the doctor said they needed. That should never happen in America. So we got to make some change. And here's how I think of the change. It's that we need to get as much help to as many people as quickly as possible. So here's what I'm going to do on my first day as president. This doesn't even require Congress. First is I will defend the Affordable Care Act. So you can't discriminate against people with pre-existing conditions. Second, I will use power that is already there. It just hasn't been used, that lets the president reduce the price of many prescription drugs. So the price of insulin, anybody here use insulin? EpiPens, mental health drugs, HIV, AIDS drugs. Bring down those prices. We can save families hundreds of millions of dollars. We just do it. And then the next part to this, you know me, if you really want to get something done, I think you start out by showing how you're going to pay for it. So I've got a plan that we can do, universal coverage for everyone. Here's how we pay for it. We pay for it by asking the top 1% of people to pay a little more. They can afford it. They will not go hungry. We do it by making some of the biggest corporations in this country, like Amazon and Halliburton and Eli Lilly, that last year reported billions in profits and paid zero in taxes. Yeah, we make them pitch in on this. And then my personal favorite, we hire a few more IRS agents and go after the tax cheaters right up at the top. That produces enough money that we can then offer, you don't have to take it, but offer universal health care pretty much to everyone. No cost to anyone under 18, no cost to a family of 4 who makes less than $50,000 a year. Modest cost for anyone else because we've already got a way to pay for this. But to let people across this country, if they want to, opt in and try health care. What health care is like, full range of health care. And it's just you and your doctor or your mental health professional or your nurse practitioner or your physical therapist without some insurance company or state agency standing in between and saying no. That's how this works. And I believe that's how we're going to build enough allies to change this healthcare system. And when tens of millions of people have had a chance to try that, I think they're going to like it. And I think when they do, that's when we vote on Medicare for all for everybody. So that's the plan. Buried right in the heart of that, though, is where I started this. It covers everything. So this is about, it covers vision and dental and hearing, long-term care for our seniors, and it covers mental health care for everyone. We get those reimbursement rates up for practitioners. Then we have availability, and that means we attack the stigma head on, we attack the cost problem head on, and now we get care to the people and their families who really need it across this country. That's the kind of America we should be. Thank you. It's a great question.
Hi, my name is Patrick.
Hi, Patrick.
Hi. I have been a fan of yours for a while. I like that your policies are based on research and expertise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One of the areas I'm interested in is clean and efficient energy, sustainable too. In my reading, one area that I'm excited is the prospect of nuclear power and a new generation of nuclear power plants that are cheaper, modular, smaller, safer than anything that came before. And I'm excited for the potential for that and for the U.S. to be a leader in a new industry there. But I've also heard that you're against nuclear. This is what I've heard, and even shutting down plants that have run safely and efficiently for a long time. Would you be open to reconsidering that, or why?
So let me tell you how I start my whole question around climate change. And that is, I'm going to say something that's really controversial when you're in Washington, D.C., but I feel safe here, okay, with all of you. I believe in science. I believe in science. So it's got a lot of parts to it, but let me just say, for me, what two key parts. The first one is we're facing a real crisis. And look, I don't know about you all, but the part that scares me the most is every time the scientists go back and collect more information, collect more data, the problem is worse than we thought, and we have less time than we thought. That means this is not your plan versus my plan. This means we got to have all the plans. And we got to be working on this 24/7. We got to be doubling up and doubling up and doubling up again. So I start, because I say I believe in science, I think our best opportunity here is to innovate and innovate our way out of this. So I have a plan, you wouldn't be surprised, to increase our investment in science, in research, in development tenfold. And it goes everywhere. Let's look for all the energy. Let's look for all the clean parts. Look, the part that worries me most about nuclear is what to do with the spent fuel rods. And until we solve that problem, I'm really worried. And I'm also worried about whether or not we have designs that are safe. But I'm open to science. Tell me what you can do. Show us what you can do. We put the money into research. That's our best chance. But here comes the nice part about that. There is an estimated $27 trillion worldwide market coming up for green. Green energy, cleaning carbon out of the air, out of the water, desalinization of water, green. So here's my plan. American taxpayers are going to invest in the research because much of this stuff hasn't even been invented yet, or at least gotten to application stage. We'll make that investment, and then we'll say to anybody, you can use our science, but you've got to build it right here in the United States of America. That's going to be millions of new jobs, millions of good manufacturing jobs, 1 million good union jobs. That's what we need to do. Two other quick things I want to say about climate just while we're on the subject. We cannot talk about climate without talking about environmental justice. For a long, long time now, our country, our states, our localities have permitted polluting industries, toxic waste dumps to be located in or near communities of color. It has damaged the health of the children who live nearby, of seniors, people with compromised health systems. It has also undercut economic growth in those communities. Who wants to buy a house in an area where the air stinks and you can't drink the water. So a part of my climate plan is to commit $1 trillion to cleaning up the messes that America permitted to be happening in our communities of color. Climate justice. Third one I just mentioned real quick, I support a Green New Deal, but it's not enough. I also have a Blue New Deal. We got to save our oceans. Thank you. I hope that's good.
Senator,
Hi.
this is the last question.
Last question. Okay.
Bienvenidos a Little Rock, Arkansas, Senadora Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, good to see you.
My name is Maria Meneses, and I'm going to ask you my question in Spanish and in English.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of followers.
Okay.
So, mi pregunta para ustedes, hay 800,000 Dreamers aquí en los Estados Unidos y pronto la Corte Suprema va a tomar una decisión sobre nuestro futuro. Si sale la decisión mal, ¿qué planea usted hacer como presidenta de los Estados Unidos para los Dreamers? So, there are 800,000 Dreamers in the United States of America. And the Supreme Court is going to make a decision real soon, right, on our future. If it isn't a suitable solution for us Dreamers, what do you plan as President of the United States to help us?
Okay.
And I also ran into you in the halls of the Senate, and I just freaked out. I don't know if you remember me, but yeah.
Oh, good to see you, Maria. So, obviously, we're going to hope for a good result, but you got to plan in case that doesn't happen. And the first is, I am not going, as president, to deport our Dreamers. I'm not. In fact, there are a lot of things a president can do, I love saying this, all by herself. I am going to close down on day one the for-profit detention centers at our borders. We are not going to take children away from their families. We're not going to sweep through neighborhoods all across this country in order to deport our friends, our neighbors who are here to stay. So, part of this is that we're going to need to make federal change. We're going to need to make change in Congress. And I want to start again with a statement of values. Immigration does not make our country weaker. Immigration makes our country stronger. We need to expand legal immigration in this country, keep families together, and we need a pathway to citizenship. Not just for the Dreamers, we need a pathway to citizenship for all of the people who are here to stay. I will fight for that. Now, I think about what goes on down at our border. I've been down to see what goes on down at our border. I've seen the cages of children, cages of little girls, cages of little boys. Understand, America's a world leader. We are just leading in the wrong direction. When we behave this way at our border, we tell the rest of the world what kind of people we are. And we undercut our moral authority around the globe. I promise you this, I will be a president who insists that the United States of America lives its values every single day, and that means with our families at the border. Thank you. Oh, good. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Maria. So let me just wrap this up and say how glad I am all of you are here. You know, it's fun. I love you too. It is fun for us to be here, but we truly have to have a sober look at what's happened over the last 3 years. We've now had 3 years of Donald Trump, and people, I know, people across this country, though, are afraid. People are deeply worried. They are afraid for their families. They're afraid for their neighbors. They're afraid for their friends. They are afraid for children locked in cages at our borders. They are afraid for children in lockdown in our public schools. They are afraid for women. They are afraid for African Americans. They are afraid for Latinos. They are afraid for LGBTQ people. They are afraid for immigrants, all of whose rights will be up for grabs in this Supreme Court. They are afraid for our nation. They are afraid for the survival of our planet. And the danger is real. Our democracy hangs in the balance in this election. And you have a decision to make as voters. You have a decision with this much danger, with this much fear. Do we back up? Do we cower? Do we get timid in our choices, or do we fight back? Me, I'm in this to fight back. I am fighting back. I am fighting back. Fighting back is an act of patriotism. Think of it this way. We fought back against a king to create this country. We fought back against the scourge of slavery to preserve this union. We fought back against a Great Depression to rebuild our economy. And we fought back against the rise of fascism to protect our democracy. Americans are at their best. When they see a problem, they call it out and they fight back. And that's why I'm here. Look, as I say sometimes, I wasn't born a politician, but I was born a fighter. I'm not running a campaign that is based on a bunch of consultants telling us what to do. Nope, you probably figured that out. I'm not running a campaign that has a bunch of proposals that are carefully designed not to offend big donors. I passed that stop sign a long time ago. But I am running a campaign based on a lifetime of fighting for working families. I am running a campaign from the heart because I believe in you. And I believe in the America that we can build together. An America where every single person has value. An America where every single child is worth investing in. An America where in our democracy, it's people, not money, that are most important. And if you believe in that America, if you can see that America, then I'm asking you, get in this fight. Get in this fight. Go to ElizabethWarren.com, sign up to volunteer for an hour, pitch in $5, but get in this fight, because understand this, 2020 is the moment in history we've been called to. And this moment will not come our way again. This is the moment to choose hope over fear. This is the moment to choose courage over cynicism. This is the moment to dream big, fight hard, and win.